Have you ever wondered what dating is like in different parts of the world? Or maybe you've thought about how cultural differences impact attraction and relationships? Well, if that's you, you'll want to tune into this week's episode. We're talking to my beautiful Ukrainian friend, Olya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And she recently moved to America, and she's going to share her dating experience here, compare that to Ukraine and other places she's lived and traveled. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions about kind of what surprises you most about American dating culture, the differences you've noticed, and what universal truths you think exist when it comes to dating and attraction. So stick around, guys. It's a deep dive into how cultural contexts shape our romantic interactions. And if you're someone who's curious about international dating dynamics, this episode is for you. You're listening to the Inner Confidence Podcast, home to the social funnel method. My name is Robbie Kramer. I've been a coach since 2007, and I've helped over 1,300 digital nomads, expats, and remote workers build an amazing social and dating life abroad. My mission is simple: to help you position yourself to meet stunning women and make awesome friends en route to becoming the most confident and attractive version you can be. I have an intense hatred for fluff and useless advice that you can't take action on, so tune in each week to learn the most effective and implementable strategies to level up your game. So stick around, let's go. Give us a big, a little background. Who is Olya? How'd you end up in America? Give us your life story in, 5 minutes.
All right.
No pressure.
It's going to be 3 minutes.
Okay, good.
Long story short, I've been traveling a lot. I've been doing modeling. So I've been to, I guess, about 23 countries before I got to America. Mm-hmm. It was time to decide where I settle. So I needed a place where the weather is nice and where people speak English, because that's the only foreign language I speak. So here I am in LA. I do modeling, acting, and a bunch of other stuff on the side, as I should. That's it.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So wait, when did you arrive in the US?
I've been here for a year already.
Okay. And before you were here, did the war have any impact on you coming here?
Obviously, yeah. Okay. So it was no way, since I was already traveling and I had this lifestyle, nothing really kept me in Ukraine. So I had a freedom to choose to keep traveling. So that's how I ended up here.
Because I know you were working in Turkey with my wife in like a model contract.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And how long ago was that? It was like 4
I think it's
5 years ago.
You asking me something and I have no fucking
Well, I
don't remember what I ate yesterday. I swear to God.
It was before we met, so that would have been at least 5-6 years ago, I guess.
How long you married?
4 years. Well, we've known each other for 4 years.
So it's about 5 years, 6 years, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So around that time, you were living in Kyiv and traveling kind of around.
Yeah. So it was like almost always a home base, Kyiv, but I would just travel and always come back to Kyiv. Yeah.
Okay. And what city are you from originally?
I was born in Eastern Ukraine in Donetsk.
Oh, Donetsk.
Yes.
So you're living in Kyiv, you're traveling, modeling.
Yeah.
The war breaks out, and then how did you end up in America?
By plane. I mean, so I was in London, which was also one of the cool options. But
it's hard to get a visa for Ukrainian girls, especially to
not
UK.
when the war hit.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I've applied through a specific program. That's how I ended up in London. But I knew I don't want to stay there for too long because the weather was just freaking me out. And while I was waiting for my papers for America, I was in London for 6 months. But
Okay,
the
good. So I get to ask you
US.
about British dating as well.
Oh my God, British dating? Yes. You asking right now?
No, not yet. So
Already?
I'm just trying to get a list. So you were in Turkey for how long?
I was in Turkey. I was in Spain, in China, even in Lebanon. Okay.
Okay. China too.
China too. I was all over the Europe, but mostly, yeah. Well, I had a period in my life where I decided that I want to be single on purpose, by choice. Mm-hmm. And so not every country I would go to, I would experience dating. But I obviously very observant. This is how we say it, observant. So I could tell the dynamics without being insider.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, your English is so good. How was it like when you first went to the UK?
For the first few days, I could not understand what they say, but you get really, you know, you can get used to everything. And then I adopted even the accent, the UK
So you
accent.
learned, how old were you when you learned English? Like you knew growing up or?
So the first foundation of English, as I said, I would say I've learned when I was 6 years old. So, you know, the alphabet, how to build sentences, because I wanted always, when I was a child, I said, I want to know English. And then my mom got me a few lessons. So I was able to learn the basics of English. And then about 18 or 20, I started to watch more of, you know, movies in English and YouTube all in English, because like the best, I would say, creators were coming from America anyways. So that's how I slowly started. And then I started traveling. And when I started traveling, I realized I could not really practice my English in places like China or Turkey. But but ended up just speaking English, mostly through, I read and watch everything in English. So that's why I guess I can put some stuff together.
So you were like totally fluent by your late teens?
By 25, 24, I would say. Now I'm older, so I'm older.
Yeah, what do you do, like 30, right?
I'm 29 for the next 5 years.
Perfect. Okay. Usually you're not supposed to ask women their age.
I'm 29 for the next few years.
You can break rules on podcasts. And okay, so what was your experience dating in Ukraine? Like, did you have long-term boyfriends?
Yes.
Give us a nitty-gritty.
Very boring, just happy, normal relationship for 5 years. And the second one was for 4 years. And no drama, nothing weird or nothing.
Where'd you meet the
back then? We didn't know, about childhood trauma and impact of all that bullshit, all the relationships and narcissistic disorders. People. Yeah, had no idea about that. I didn't have to educate myself about this. We were just pretty much thinking that it's nice to build something, and the same way our parents would do, right? It was embarrassing for my mom to get divorced, so I was trying to stick to one person. And at some point in my life, it was even embarrassing to think like, oh my God, I wasted 5 years on this person and now everybody knows I was dating him. And now I'm like, so it wasn't really nice to fail at your relationship. And we didn't have this, I would say, serial dating, as you call it. Right. Yeah. So it wasn't a thing for me.
Okay.
But I still feel like there were people who would take dating a little bit more casual, even in Ukraine. But not that common in my experience.
So you had 2 long-term relationships that kind of took you
in Ukraine. Yes, okay. That would happen.
So, yes. And then when you went to the UK, well, actually, let me ask you, the tradition, it was more traditional there, right? Like the
Ukrainian stuff?
Less of a hookup culture.
Less of a hookup culture. Also, a lot of pressure on women to be seen as a hookup culture girl because... Yeah, it's just kind of like...
More slut shaming if someone's doing...
It just... your value goes down, I would say.
Right.
In the eyes of a lot of men. So that's why probably we also trying to not be seen with different guys and...
More of a stigma for being a slut, basically.
I didn't say that. You said that. I didn't say that.
Okay. Was there any... when you were there, did you ever feel like a sense of like feminism, or
in Ukraine?
Yeah,
feminism. I think the first taste of feminism I got when I started traveling.
Got it. Yeah.
When I realized if you put too much of expectations on your dating life, on your marriage, or on the guy, you're missing out on some things in life. After I traveled and I faced a lot more of feminism, I realized it's also not healthy. So nowadays, I feel like the healthy balance is where I want to be in my life. Healthy balance of being a little bit mysterious, hot, and independent, but also being very humbled and understanding that any relationship at some point is sacrifice. I cannot be jumping between Mykonos and Ibiza and just expect to build a family and stuff. So, right. So boundaries.
So like growing up, there was was there, what was your kind of like dream as like a little girl? Was it to like, you know, find an amazing husband and have like an amazing family? Was it more geared towards like a career or become famous, or what and what's the common thing you think most girls growing up like think about that?
I had a little dreams about career, but every time I would think about my career is not being healthy for my family life. So I remember I wanted some career that will require me traveling a lot. And I'm like, but what about my husband who's not seeing me?
Right.
You know, and I'm like, how am I going to put this? So yeah, growing up, I would just go for more of a traditional family.
Traditional, more like gender roles and yeah. That's what I found too. Like when I went there, it was really refreshing for me as a guy.
Really?
Because it was like, I mean, I call Ukraine, at least during the period when I was there, like 2018.
Yeah.
I went for the first time in 2015, and then I moved there in 2018.
Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously the war was still happening in Donetsk in that time.
In
it started
Ukraine.
There, right. But, you know, until the full-fledged war broke out in 2022, I'd always say to my friends, yeah, it's Disneyland for men, because the women are gorgeous.
God. It makes you a sex tourist. I'm just kidding.
No, girls would ask me, they're like, are you a sex tourist? I'd be like, no, I am a sex resident.
Right.
Which
you got Ukrainian green card. And
yeah. So I just found that like the ratio of men to women is a lot different over there, and you wouldn't think so. I think I saw a study that it was like 52% women, 48% men in Kyiv.
52% women, 48. You mean a little bit more of women,
right? But what happens when you have a tiny 1 or 2 percentage points difference, right, in the entire like city, that translates into a massive difference in the dating market. Right.
But you also have to break it down, the age gaps, you know.
Sure.
Sorry. The age.
Well, that's why I found it interesting, because you wouldn't think that would matter that much, like a 2% difference.
Yeah.
But then when they did the math on it, it led to just a humongous like plethora of young dateable women compared to young dateable men.
So are you saying we don't have enough of men?
Correct. Especially in the cities where, because most women would like move to Kyiv or Odessa or Kharkiv, right? The bigger cities. And it's a lot easier to get like a service industry job. Yeah. You know, working as like a waitress or
be exposed to better men more.
Well, you get
because of your work.
Right. Yeah. And you get more of an international crowd of men in that city. Right. But that's why I found Ukraine so awesome, because there were very few international guys. The competition amongst men was less, but the beauty and the intelligence and the sort of the lack of like feminine or feminism infiltration was way less. So, you know, you didn't have the sort of like ball busting American girls who were like, you know, effectively, and I definitely saw more of that in like London. I traveled, I've been to almost 60 countries. Yeah. And
you said 60?
Yeah.
Not 16?
60.
Okay. I'm here with my 24.
And I just found that the further east I went in Europe, because I traveled all over Europe, and the further east I went, I found that the level of attractiveness of women went up. Yeah. They're kind of like ball busting, bitchy behavior tended to go down. Yeah. And then the prices went severely down. So as a Western, you know, Jewish guy, I'm like, I think I'll just keep going east. Oh my God. And then I found out I have like roots in Ukraine, like my great grandparents are from Odessa and Dnipro.
So you might be like 25% Ukrainian.
But I did a DNA test, and I'm 99% Eastern European Ashkenazi Jew. So it was basically all from the region of like Transcarpathia.
Okay. Right?
Yeah. So Western Ukraine. Okay. You know, when I went to Lviv, I felt very at home. It was like this weird feeling of like a, you know, like, I don't know, maybe it was, wow. Yeah, it was just strange. I felt like just an eerie sense of like I had been there before or something weird like that. It just felt like a good place to be.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with the Ukrainian women and just the culture in general because it's kind of like you can just use a little bit of money to solve all problems, right? You get pulled over by a cop, you give them a $20 bill, and it's like the problem goes away.
The price is slowly going up, though.
Right. Well, there's a low level of bribery that was, and a low level of what's the word? Corruption.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you can. In America, if you get pulled over for speeding, you can't bribe a cop, right? You just have to go through the annoying process and go to traffic school. Now, if you try, don't try.
For me, I'm just smiling. It works.
Well, you can bribe them if you look like you. If you look like me, no amount of money is going to pay them off, right? But you don't even have to bribe them. You can just, sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Before we continue with the episode, if you're going out and getting numbers and want to improve your texting so more of those numbers convert to dates, check out my texting course. It will teach you the psychology of digital communication, which is surprisingly polar opposite in almost every way compared to live interactions. What works in person doesn't work in text, so this is almost always the area that men are making easily correctable mistakes that they're totally unconscious of. My course will optimize your texting, which is a skill you really need to master, and the best part is you can cut and paste your way to mastery. You can find the link in the description. It costs less than a round of drinks. And if you're going on dates and want to learn what to do so more of them end up in your bedroom, check out my free dating protocol. You'll learn to be an interesting guy to talk to, even if you're serious or over-analytical. How to help a girl open up on a date, why talking about sex is a big taboo on dates if you want to get laid, and what to talk about instead, going from the first touch to the first kiss, how to invite her over to your place, and why you should skip 80% of the physical escalation moves you're doing back at your place. The link to this free guide is in the description. Out of all the guys I know, the only ones who manage to consistently land 8s and up are the guys who have built a social circle. You can certainly approach women and use the apps to get laid, but those strategies simply don't really work on top tier women. Think about it. If she's hot, she has hot friends. And hot girls get invited to high status events almost every single night. So when it comes time to get ready for your date, do you think she's gonna show up or flake last minute when her girlfriend texts her to come to some awesome thing? As if she's gonna choose the random dude on Hinge or the guy who chased her down on the street over her social circle. No chance. If you're getting tons of flakes, this is the reason. But for most guys, the idea of building a social circle, especially if you're traveling or in a new city, can feel overwhelming. So they continue to hunt for women in their usual ways and they end up settling for a girl they were never really that excited about in the first place. To avoid this fate, join our community of aspiring international playboys and instantly plug into a highly vetted social circle of cool dudes to network and navigate your journey with. You already know it's hard to find a wingman because the good ones don't really stay in the game very long. They get married, life goes on, right? Many of our members travel together, they end up living together, and they build amazing social circles in the best kept secret locations around the globe with gorgeous women and low cost of living. I'm extremely careful who I let into this community, but if you feel like you'd make a good fit, you can learn more about the social funnel method to consistently land top tier women and apply to join our community. The link is in the description. Now let's get back to the show.
What? So did you use any how do guys approach in Ukraine? When you were there?
How do guys approach? Oh my God, it's been a while. How do guys approach? In a very classic way, I would say nothing weird. But I would say the effort is definitely better than the effort here in LA. In LA is a lot of casual approach. That is more superficial, and it just feels like you're just one of the hundreds options. Where I would say men in Ukraine would have a better focus on you. You know, they know like, oh, okay, I want this girl, so you don't feel like he is just checking if it's gonna work out or not. You know, my favorite WYD message. W, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
That's my favorite thing that I didn't know existed. Okay. So yeah, pretty much this doesn't happen. And it's more human, if it's the right thing to say. Is it weird to say?
No, you can say that.
It's more human.
Yeah. You feel less like maybe like a piece of meat?
Yeah, it's just more human. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just feel like, oh, okay, he probably wants something he wants to have something with me, not only sex, or even if it's, even if they want to have only sex with you, they would put a lot more of effort.
I know culturally, receiving flowers in Ukraine is like a very normal and expected thing.
Expected thing,
right?
Yeah.
Where I grew up here in the US, if you give a girl flowers who's not your boyfriend or girlfriend, that's super cringe. And like, you're a loser for like giving her flowers. Like, why would you do that? You're a simp. You're a sucker.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? I don't know. Yeah, flowers are cool.
Right.
We only live once. You can be cringe to me. I'm good with that. I like cringe,
Well, it's
okay.
That was one of the things I found refreshing. It's like, just because, whereas like here, you give a girl flowers.
Yeah.
You know, she'll be like when I was in high school, I remember overhearing a girl saying like, you know, Joey gave, you know, Jenny flowers. It's so gross. Like, who does that? Right?
No, I started receiving flowers in school.
Right.
February 14, all the cards and flowers. I got a collection of them. So it was pretty normal. And it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's like cheesy. It's cute. But, you know, it's, I think cringe is when you're chasing a guy who's on and off, blocking you. And, you know, that's cringe. Right. Isn't it cringe, you know?
From the girl's side, yeah.
Yeah, that's what cringe, I would say. Other than that, don't worry about receiving flowers. Yeah. It's also very feminine energy, receiving flowers. So you have to practice being comfortable receiving. Okay, it's cringe, but it's for me. Yeah. Okay, move on.
Well, the other thing I noticed in Ukraine was like every girl that I would see would be pretty much full makeup, dressed amazing, perfect hair, perfect nails.
Right.
Like you compare the hair, there's just the average girl that like is out and about, and like her hair, it was like I was looking at like, I was like, I've never seen hair like this before in my life. I would even call it, you know, when you see in Ukraine where the hair is like totally cut straight across.
Straight.
I even came up with like a little thing like,
yeah.
Like they go to the salon and the guy just goes like this, but it's so beautiful and it's like layered, not really layered, but I don't know. You never see that style in the US. Yeah. And here it's like, you know, most of the time people are wearing, you know, whatever, yoga pants and just, it's much more. I just found that over there, the girls were really done up, and I was always kind of curious why that's the case.
Why is that the case?
And the only thing that I could kind of think of was there was more of a competition there for men. So the girls went above and beyond to look better just in the day to day. Do you think that's
not only
true?
This, the lifestyle, as a person who moved from Ukraine to US, just because I don't want to be like, oh, you know, something is wrong with American girls. There is a reason for that. It's very convenient to put on yoga pants and jump into your car.
Of course, yeah.
In Ukraine, I have to dress up, go outside and spend all day with the outfit I've chose. So I'm more mindful of what I'm putting on, right?
That's interesting. So you think it's
it's infrastructure and like the way of living is very, very different. You know, you have to put a lot less of effort into your outfits because you just jump into your own car. It's hard to imagine a person living in LA with no car and, you know, she's dressing up nicely and going to use the metro. Yeah. Can you imagine this? I had to do this, and I would wear, I can literally have a, you know, high fashion brand bag and be in underground in Ukraine because I'm going where I have to go, and other people seeing me, and it's not just, it's just regular people. So probably this also, it's just like you have to go outside and show up for other people looking good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that because I also lived in New York City, and I think on average people are much more fashion forward there.
Because they're all being exposed outside.
Right, because you're in the subway. Like you said, you're exposed to people.
Yeah, so
you're not just in your car.
It's a lifestyle as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. When you were in Ukraine, how did you meet your two boyfriends?
Social circle.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were reaching out through social media anyways.
So through Instagram?
They would always see me and you know, smile, blah, blah, blah. But they would end up reaching out on social media, and we will start slowly there before taking it to a real life. So it's not like I met them on social media, right? But they saw me in real life, and we were having like some friends in common. But yeah, I think I might maybe intimidate people sometimes. You know?
Really?
I don't know. So yeah, we started like from texting and then, hanging out together and having more and more friends in common. And we started off as friends actually, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Because it was a lot less of pressure and expectations. And then it slowly grew into a nice,
I think that's the best way to meet.
I think so. Yeah. It was a very healthy way.
So you didn't do any online dating?
I'm still not doing any online dating.
No.
I cannot stand somebody just swiping on me. I'm like,
well, this
what
is
do
my
you mean?
theory. Like, I tell my clients all the time, like, if you want to meet a girl like Olya, she's not hanging out online.
Never been.
Never. You're on Instagram, but Instagram is online dating, but it's not online dating, right? It's not the apps. You're not
95% of people are not going to meet me. That is reaching out to me on Instagram. Probably I would not meet them in person for dating.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were living in Ukraine, how often would guys try to slide into your DMs?
Pretty often too. Okay. Yeah.
Compare that to England and to here.
So my following is pretty much international. So it's like no matter where I am, it would be different people.
So I guess it's hard to say.
It's very hard for me to say.
Okay. You haven't noticed the difference?
Yeah, I have not noticed. It just always happens, but it's very low. Yeah. Social media overall is a low effort.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to feel like, oh, I can get a little bit of communication with this person just by just try it. It's very easy to even drop a very harmful comment on social media because you don't feel like this person will really read and worry about what I just said.
Yeah.
So
how often do you get random guys DMing you? Can we look at your Instagram?
Oh my God. First of all, there we go. It's like fresh requests.
Okay, so it's 5, 12. These are all the last 24 hours.
This person.
Oh my God. Yeah, show it. Mm-hmm.
So this person is doing this for years, all right?
Just reacting to all your photos.
First of all, it's dedication. Second of
and all the same reaction. He is very clever.
Here's another person doing the same thing, right?
All fire emojis.
Sometimes
this is the way, guys.
And so these people, if they want to stand out, I don't feel like to me, it's like a white noise.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've got in the last, so like 5 new ones. And this is all requests. So this guy, what you would expect. Okay. So, and do you always check all of your messages?
I basically, I can catch, like something can catch my eye.
Okay. You have a bunch of unread. So you can kind of just tell based on the profile, right?
So see, like this message was a proper sentence, so okay. I was curious.
So it's he said that he can. I can make you drink the best matcha in Istanbul.
So we assume that it's somebody from Istanbul, and he knows a good place where I can drink matcha. Okay, so
I mean. Shocking you didn't respond.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Please.
But there's also hidden request. It was just normal request, and we go to hidden, and there's more.
Oh, wow. All within the last hour, or 5 hours, there's 4 of them. So there's tons. Yeah. Okay, so.
Some random guy called me my love. I think it's also interesting.
Say, by the way, you do a lot of work, and your physique is great. I'd like to meet you in real life, my love. Oh, yeah.
Right?
So. When you were in Ukraine, how often would guys, you know what day game is because we practiced that during the events. So you're a model in some of our events, and we have the guys do the approaches on you, and you give them feedback. And how often does that happen, where a guy is approaching you in a sort of direct and a way that's making himself vulnerable?
On a daily basis, I would say.
In Ukraine?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how often are guys like catcalling you? You know what I mean by that?
Catcalling me? It's just something like, woohoo.
Yeah, like nice ass or like, hey, baby, that sort of thing. Where it's not a real approach. It's just like
it can happen in specific places, like nightclubs or stuff like that, restaurants. It's actually not that common.
Not common. Okay.
But if you go to places like Istanbul,
right,
different thing, right?
Maria was saying how I think she was in Lebanon,
I've been to Lebanon as well.
And some guy came over and it's just like, how much? Right.
It's very aggressive. Yeah. I remember I was walking from my apartment to gym in Lebanon, and the guy would hand his phone number on a little piece of paper from a car just passing by. He would just, please take you know how I'm gonna do with your number. It's really aggressive there too. Maybe it's hard for them to meet people. It's also I feel like it's really hard to meet people in LA. Yeah, because you spend all day in your car, and only to meet people you have to drive somewhere first and have something to do. So you need to have a specific plan on where you're gonna meet these people and approach them. Right.
So you found when you were living in Kyiv, you would get approached just like where walking around or
coffee
on
shops,
the subway,
in the streets, on the subway. Yeah.
So it happened every day.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is your feeling when that happens? Like, or is it annoying? If the guy's cool, is it better? What is your take on that?
I would never say it's annoying because I'm a very grateful person. So I'm like, okay, that means, okay, cool. That's great. That's people are interested. But I had, some people can be too much. I had borderline stalkers in my life. But you can always protect yourself at some points. If you don't want to talk, there's ways to cut off. It was great lesson. Like it was, but by now I've learned how to communicate and just explain, that I'm not interested in a very nice way, so nobody's freaking out. Yeah, it's not a big deal,
If you're not interested, do you usually tell them straight up you're not interested, or you just say you have a boyfriend?
The older I get, the faster I cut off. But before I used to entertain this a little bit because I didn't know how to say no. Okay. So I would just say, I can't give you a number, but I'll give you my Instagram. Is that okay? So my Instagram was like really easy way to kind of promise something, I'll respond to you on Instagram, but also safe place because Instagram is public. I don't, everybody can like my picture. Everybody can watch my stories. Everybody can slide into my DMs. It doesn't mean I have to respond. When giving your number feels a lot more of a private thing to do. So,
Got it. And so now are you more likely to just say you have a boyfriend even if you didn't, or would you just still say I'm not interested?
I would never say that I have a boyfriend if I don't have one, but...
That's interesting because I would guess, I don't think I've ever...
The problem about me, I would not even say... The problem about me, I would not even say that I have a boyfriend even when I have one. Really? Because I've heard a few times guys saying like, okay, boyfriend, not a husband, right. Like
he didn't put a ring on it.
Also that would just manipulate you back and say like, I didn't say I want to date you. I was just wanting your number. So I don't want to deal with this. And I'm just saying, I'm just saying what I feel without putting the third party into my conversation, if that makes sense,
Well, it's very common in the US for women to respond when they're not interested to simply say I have a boyfriend.
Really?
Because most guys at that point will just kind of give up. So it's easier. I know because I've done, thousands of these approaches. And when I first got into it, I had to, embarrassing story. I was becoming a coach for a different company. Yeah. And I had to get a number on hidden camera from a girl that I approached during the day. And so I had this guy following me around, and we had like a hidden camera in like this box. And I approached 30 girls in a row. It was at a mall in San Diego. And I heard, I have a boyfriend 30 straight times. I think it was actually 34 straight times. And the odds of 34 straight girls having a boyfriend, it's like, if you do the math, it's typically half the girls are in a relationship, right? Half are single, half are in a relationship. And if you do the math, the odds of that happening 34 times in a row, it's very low. So, and it's just very normal here for women to use that as a way to just get out of a conversation. Versus in Ukraine, I almost never heard that. I always heard like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. One time I was like, no, you are weird. Which I found incredibly refreshing. Right. I love that because I had already...
You're a freak. You like that. Huh?
I want to know the honest truth versus I was comfortable with rejection because I had done I'd just been rejected so many times.
Yeah.
So I was just like, just fucking tell me I'm ugly, tell me I'm gross, whatever. Just don't tell me you have a boyfriend if you don't
Tell
have
me
a boyfriend.
about your type or something
Right.
like that. Yeah.
But I get it. I get why it's easier to just say I have a boyfriend, because most guys kind of give up. But that's interesting. Maybe in Ukraine, because what I found with the men in Ukraine, it was a little bit harder to get them to like not pursue if they were interested in a girl. Like they were more persistent than most American men.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you say that's true in general?
Because they have a better focus.
Mhm.
They don't try. Sometimes, sometimes men approach just to see if they can.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in Ukraine, since we have a more traditional values, they're not trying to approach just to see if they can approach. They're trying to approach because they want to have you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the thing. But also, I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like things can change slowly,
Sure.
I think the hookup culture is getting to Eastern Europe too.
Oh yeah.
Step by step.
Well, as time goes on, right? Western culture kind of spreads
All over.
because that's more of the, I don't know, pop culture, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So feminism moves, towards.
Yeah.
And I even felt that in the 4 years I lived in Ukraine. I definitely felt more of a Western influence as time went by. And then how would you compare the amount you got approached in England and in Turkey compared with the US and Ukraine? Although you didn't tell us about how can you get approached here?
How often do I get approached here?
Mm-hmm.
On a daily basis. But But I feel like it's not about how often you get approached. It's about the quality of approaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or quality of people who are approaching you, because you might be approached by a person,
Yeah. She's looking because there's a big homeless area right here.
I'm looking at the homeless area, and they're always telling me I look gorgeous, and I appreciate that. But like, can I count this as approach? I don't know. I can be approached by
an actual approach where the guy is trying to get your number and take you on a date.
A daily basis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm outside, something will happen.
Yeah.
If I'm at the restaurant, if I'm somewhere
It was
in
funny.
a gym.
I was actually like randomly meeting with the guy who lived in the building.
Yeah.
And we met in the dog park, started discussing stuff, and we ended up like having lunch together. And, I told him what I did, and then we saw, we exchanged Instagrams, and we saw the mutual friend of you. And
me?
yes.
Okay.
And then I think he didn't tell me how he got your Instagram, but then you later told me about a guy who approached you when you were here helping at my event.
I was just on the way to see you, and downstairs, a guy with a dog.
A little white dog, yeah.
Yeah, he approached me, and I was like, "Oh my God, is this already they training out here, approaching in the street?" So this happens a lot. But I know it sounds funny. Even in LA, depending on the neighborhood. Let's say I'm always approached in a gym in a specific place, but if I go to a more chill gym, everybody leaves. I'm peaceful. Nobody's.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So if you're at the West Hollywood Equinox, for example,
right?
Is that a place you're going to get approached?
App.
Right.
This is a nightclub. Okay.
Totally.
You just lifting weights 1 minute, and another minute you're kissing in the mouth. Almost like that. If you want some peace, go to like Studio City, Equinox. You'll find some peace there. Yeah.
Yeah. And you recently moved from West Hollywood.
I recently moved, and I was like, "Oh my God, I guess nobody likes me anymore. Nobody's coming up to me." Yeah, the energy there is completely different. I feel like West Hollywood is automatically a place of people who trying to get by and meet people and hang out as much. They're trying to expose themselves as much as they can.
For sure.
And that's why a lot more of approach happens there. So
yeah, when I was single and I lived in LA. The first place I ever lived was Marina Del Rey.
Okay.
And now
you probably felt a little lonely there.
I was bored out of my mind. And then I lived in Santa Monica, and that was still a little bit boring. Then I moved to West Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm staying in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because that's literally where all the girls are.
You're never alone. Yeah. You're just always out there. Yeah.
All the clubs, all the people walking around.
Exactly.
I mean, there's still people walking around, but it's not quite the same. It's where all the parties are, basically. So
yeah.
Okay, so it's. And then how would you compare that to when you lived in London?
London. Nightlife, every time I go out, restaurants, bars, every time I'm approached. In the streets, I don't remember much.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel...
Were you there during nice weather? It's never nice weather there.
It was never nice. Nobody, no, you just walking like this.
At least when it wasn't too cold.
Yeah, probably. Every time I'm outside of, if I'm going to malls or stores or restaurants, then I am being approached a lot. On social media as well, more.
Okay. Do you take efforts, like I know now you're sort of in a relationship, or you are, like, do you take efforts to not be approached?
How do you take efforts to not be approached?
Have
like
a resting bitch face, maybe wear sunglasses, like look less approachable, basically.
It wasn't even crossing my mind. Should I? Would you want your wife to do this? I don't know.
I always love actually when she gets approached, because she gets to come back to me and tell me like,
the experience.
Because I'm always kind of like a scientist trying to figure out what everyone's doing, because it's my business, of course. But I'm weird. Most guys, tell their women like, dress in a burqa, so other guys don't, try to hit on them. Nobody
put in any pressure or control on me. But I definitely, even when I was single, I didn't want all this. I didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable in a gym, so I wouldn't overdress out there. Let's say. So yeah, but when I go out, I just, since I'm a child, I love makeup, I love fashion, I love all these things, So I'm gonna look like this until the end of my day, okay? Right. As much as I can. I'm not doing any efforts to be less approached. Okay, yes, if that's what you want to hear.
And it seems like you like being approached, like you like the feeling of it, maybe the validation, makes you feel good, makes you feel
validation. The more, again, you're getting older, you're getting smarter. You don't really seek validation that much.
Right.
As I said, the more happy I am, the less I want to post on social media. It works the same way.
Right.
I don't need to make sure that I'm approachable enough, because I already learned that, okay, men like me, I'm attractive, good for me.
Yeah.
But
you don't seem annoyed by it, which I think is,
unless it's weird.
Unless the guys,
I don't seem annoyed by it. Yeah.
And I think that's really important for guys to hear, because here you are getting approached on the daily.
Yeah.
And most guys are going to assume, oh my God, a girl like her, she's getting approached all the time, must be so annoying. She's constantly having to shoo guys away. Yeah. And then they think, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. And so they don't do it. But here, we're hearing, from you saying like, no, you should do it.
The question is, do you want to be the guy who gets rejected all the time? When you, Well,
this kind of leads into my next thought, which is, so I believe if you want to date a woman, for, I don't know, to a woman who's really beautiful, right? Call her an 8+, right? You're probably not going to be successful on the dating apps, because you're not on the dating apps, right? You're probably not going to be successful on a street sort of day game approach.
Yeah.
Because why would you date that guy when you could date someone through your social circle? Because I'm sure you're invited to interesting events with cool people of high status almost every day.
I'm also mindful of my own social circle now. Mm-hmm. So when I think about places I'm going or neighborhoods I'm living, I'm thinking about, probably the men of my dreams are not doing this.
Right.
He's not jumping right now with the bottle service. And I had to realize that, because I've been a girl, having a lot of fun. And then I'm like, wait, I don't feel like the father of my kids right here spending $10,000 on little bottles with the fireworks.
Sparklers.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh. So it's, everybody needs to put themselves in the social circle they feel like they belong to. Even if you don't belong there yet, try to. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And obviously you get more savvy, as you get more experience. So, I think, because when clients come to me and they're trying to get more dates, right? Yeah. I tell them, well, day game is a great way to build your confidence, and you can potentially get dates from approaching women during the day. But if you want to find, your perfect 10 or your dream girl, and you have these high standards, right? As a strategy that will consistently allow you to date girls like you, I think day game just doesn't quite cut it, because you're going to think that why is this guy approaching in the first place?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I still tell my clients to do it for the confidence reasons, and effectively they need to build reps, and they need to, I see day approaching as kind of like it's the deadlifts of exercise.
Yeah.
Right. It's what builds your confidence, builds your muscle. You get confident with rejection. You stop giving a shit.
Same as for me going on a bunch of dinners before in dates, I've learned how to speak, how to listen, how to act,
right,
and understand what I like and what I don't like, to learn how to notice red flags, to recognize narcissistic personality disorders, and be a therapist for every man. Anyway, so yeah, it works the same way, I guess.
Yeah, you need to get experience.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as a way to consistently get high quality dates, it's basically social circle or bust.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's confirming.
Yeah.
I guess that.
But I would just mention there's difference between going on a dates and getting to know people and trying to sleep with everybody you see. It's just a big difference between this. So I would just say people should not be caught in this mess, of just seeking validation through many, many, many people. So it should be experience, but it shouldn't be like validation seeking. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, so real quick, I've decided that 2024 is the year that I really try to up my social media game, and more specifically my Instagram, and I think you should too. I'll be sharing thoughts, lessons, and ideas there almost every day, and I love to interact with you and help you grow. So if you're active on Instagram already, and you should be, because Instagram is really the only online dating platform and a way that most of your communication with beautiful women is going to funnel, then shoot me a follow link via the show notes. I'm at Robbie_Kramer. Let me know what you're working on and if there's any way I can help. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, my journey with validation seeking was, I was kind of like the kid who got rejected in middle school.
Yeah.
I asked one girl out. I had a big crush on her, and she said no, and I was like a little bit chubby. Yeah. So she didn't even say no for the reasons I thought she said no.
Just remember the picture of you being chubby. Sorry. Okay.
So I assumed that she didn't like me because I was chubby.
Okay.
But the real reason was because I didn't have the courage to ask her out. I asked her friend out for me. Yeah. But the friend actually liked me. So I think she said no because she knew the friend liked me.
Oh my God.
So
that's a lot of drama.
So much drama, right? In 7th grade. So my conclusion from that experience was, don't ask girls out. Don't be direct, because they can, make you feel like shit.
Yeah.
So I didn't show any interest or ask any girls out for the next 4 years until the end of high school, where I was like, okay, all these people are having sex and going to dances together. And now I need to actually take a risk and do something. So I did, and it worked out. And, but I still had so many issues around my weight and validation. I didn't think I was an attractive guy. And it wasn't until the end of my 20s when I lost weight and I did tons of dating, got, really comfortable with rejection, went on hundreds of dates, approached, thousands of girls, and hooked up with a lot of girls to the point where I finally felt like, oh, okay, I am attractive.
I can get this many.
Yeah. Right. I can validate myself now. I don't need that external validation to, to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's very common with men, because with women, right, when you're 17, 18, even earlier, 15, 16, you start getting that sort of sexual validation from men, right? Yeah. You start getting looked at in a way, and experiences and opportunities start coming your way just because you're hot. Versus guys at that age, you're just useless, right? You're a 16-year-old idiot who doesn't know shit, right? Unless you're a male model or captain of the football team, right? You probably
something cheesy like that,
right? You're just not getting experience, and so a lot of guys, they'll kind of be salty and angry that women their age have access to all of these resources, whereas men, we have to earn it. We've got to basically build ourselves into somebody of value in our 20s and early 30s, to the point where I do have a nice villa where I can host a party, right? And actually be competitive in the dating market, right? I do have some status. I do have some shit.
So maybe until that age, you date what you can get, and after that age you date what you want, you know, you date your dream girls, but before that you just date what you can get, which is, you know, works for some people. Why not?
Yeah, it's I mean, you gotta, it's just a different, it's a different like sexual market value situation based on your age, right? Like women have it very easy at a younger age and men have it easier at an older age. So it's just kind of, it is what it is. But would you feel like in the US versus Ukraine, you get more or less sort of attention from men? Like, did you compare how you felt when you're in Ukraine and London, or compare those two to America? Like, where do you feel like you have, I guess, more value in the sexual marketplace?
Value?
I know it's a crass way to think about it, but
okay, well, I feel like I'm being approached a lot more and a lot more aggressive, to the point it doesn't really feel safe sometimes.
Here.
Interesting.
Okay.
But when we talk about US, right here, my experience with US is Los Angeles, right? Which is a very specific.
I like how you said that, by the way. Los Angeles.
How do I say that? Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Just say. How am I supposed to say that?
You just say. You have to say L.A. You can't say.
But I wanted to be like dramatic.
Los Angeles.
So we're right now in Los Angeles. Anyways, so me in LA, right? And it's a different planet, okay? And yeah, when I just got here, I realized, oh my God, it's just like, it's insane. It's, you know, the approach is really weird, superficial, and unhealthy. I believe not maybe every woman experiencing this, but I do get a lot of weird stuff where I feel like people not really interested in me, but they just want to see if they can get me just in case, you know, or just to tell somebody, just to get her on my list, just to tell somebody that, or just to take a picture with her. I don't know. I had people taking pictures with me in the gym. And they posted me, and I don't know this person.
Social proof on Instagram.
You know, I don't know this person. I don't belong to him. I don't know him. I never seen him before. So it's a little bit sick here, you know, and I don't know why.
It just feels.
Maybe I know. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure, economy. You know, I also noticed the girls are a lot more desperate.
Here,
they would approach a lot more. They would keep and fight for men, you know.
Interesting.
There's a lot more competition, which is unhealthy.
Really? So you felt that the women here are more sort of manipulative, conniving against other women?
Yes, and I have a guy friends that I would describe them as high value men. When I say high value men, I don't mean only money, okay?
Yeah.
In general, their values, their morals and stuff. And they say like, oh my, women are really desperate. What they're trying to do is crazy. So I feel like, you know, prices, living in LA makes women very unsafe and vulnerable, and they want to stick to somebody so bad that it makes them, acting a little bit desperate. Interesting. Yeah.
I would have thought you almost would say the opposite, whereas in Ukraine, the women would be more competitive. But I know what you mean in terms of like the women being more conniving here, because I found that over there, the women, there was definitely competition amongst women. I would
just say it's not that common for Ukrainian girl to approach first.
Right. That just basically never happens.
I never done it in my life.
Yeah.
Unless somebody told me like do it for fun or something like that. I've never done it in my life.
Yeah.
But I know extremely normal for girls just go for what they want in LA. I like it. I want it. I got it. You know? Yeah.
I found that when I was on dates here, my best strategy was to kind of like let the girl make the first move a lot of the time.
Really?
Yeah. Like, well, not to the point of like kissing first.
Again. You're a freak. Anyways.
But in Ukraine, that would never work.
Okay.
Right? Like the girl's never going to kiss you first. Here, my game was to like get to the point where she knew that I knew that I could kiss her, but I wouldn't actually do it. And then I knew she would just like grab me and like say like, you know, when are you gonna kiss me already, or that sort of thing.
Manipulator.
I was, so I certainly was. And then I had to, when I went to Ukraine, that just stopped working.
Yeah.
You know, and I almost had to like relearn my entire approach.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, you went to Ukraine, it's easier there." I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't think so at all." I think the women on average are more beautiful because they're not fat. I think that's the biggest difference in America. It's like,
you're gonna get canceled for this so bad.
I know. Well, it's just it's true. I think I'm not saying it's just women, it's men too, right? The obesity problem in the U.S. is a big problem. In Eastern Europe, it's very rare that you see obese people.
The lifestyle, the infrastructure, again, also different.
Right.
You know?
So it's not that like women are more beautiful there. It's just there's more women in shape. And so you end up noticing more women than you would notice here because you're not going to notice the ones that are out of shape as dating options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
Well, wait, what was it all about? I forgot. I lost the track of conversation.
Let me see if there's any other questions on my list here. I guess my question was, where do you feel like you have better dating options? Like here, London, Ukraine?
Good question. I should have dated people in London.
Should have?
I should have, but it was too
English
cold.
mix.
It was too cold for me, darling. It was too cold for me. It was too cold.
Get some tea and crumpets.
I could not. Yeah, I should have dated in London. I feel like there were great options there too. Well, I would say this. LA is a major, huge city, right? And because of the prices, there's specific people who overachievers, you know, they got to the certain level of success. So probably, you know, you cannot meet celebrity if you want to date a celebrity, or a basketball player if you want to date a basketball player, or a billionaire somewhere in this level of billionaire you cannot meet in Kyiv, right?
Right.
So probably your options are better here,
right,
if you're looking for a lifestyle and comfort. But the ways of finding this are very challenging because of the lifestyle in LA.
Yeah.
It takes time to figure out and understand and self-reflect. I probably should be in specific places, surrounded by specific people, and building my own social circle, and also be someone and not just a party girl in West Hollywood. So it's harder, but options are better, I guess.
Yeah.
And also it's very multicultural city, so you can meet people from different cultures. You know, it's not like you're just American, right? You figure out about yourself that you belong to, you know, yeah.
No one's really just American.
So you can date here Hispanic people, you know, Latinos, that's how you call it? Okay.
Or Hispanic.
You know, yeah, you can meet people from different cultures here. So you got more of interesting and challenging options, but at the same time, it's harder to meet people.
And have you been anywhere else in the U.S.? New York,
I've been to New York for a few days.
Okay.
So it's not enough to say something. I've just noticed that, people might dress up, go out more, and be outside more, but I don't know how it works there.
Miami?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. I personally am not a big Miami fan.
I feel like Miami is going to be
like it's a worse version of LA in a sense. It just feels like a little bit more seedy. I don't know. Miami's changed since I lived there for a moment in like 2013.
Yeah.
But I find that most men who are very savvy when it comes to dating are finding that.
I want to Google the word savvy. I'm sorry.
Savvy is like up with the trends.
Oh, okay.
You know, well studied.
Well studied. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I got it right.
Yeah.
Wow. Pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah.
They kind of figured out something similar that I did, which is you can go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll find women that are a bit more traditional. If you're making US dollars and you're living abroad, typically you can geo-hack your way into wealth that way as well.
Do you know how we call them?
Sex tours?
Passport bros.
Passport bros.
Right.
Well, did you call them that in Ukraine, or is that something you learned when you came?
I don't think the Ukrainian girls really use that much.
Right.
I've learned it here.
Okay.
But I realized how
Yeah.
I mean, I've met people while I was traveling. Oh my God, Ukraine is my favorite place. Every time I go there, you know, I buy bottles. I take and I'm like, of course, because you know, $100 in Ukraine is you can have a lot of fun with $100. When in LA, $300. I just wake up and already I'm charged $300 for nothing.
It's
and
crazy,
I only had
yeah.
much.
Well, as a guy in like your mid-20s, right? If I realized that I'm an entrepreneur, so I could live whatever I wanted,
Yeah.
it just made more sense for me as a guy who is like single and trying to date,
Yeah.
that why not like travel the world and, you know, spend
Yeah.
spend local currency while making US dollars. And after a certain point, I got, you know, kind of homesick and I wanted to come back anyways. Luckily I met Maria and it was a good sort of transition. The war happened, all that, but it was, you know, it was a good adventure and a good experience for me. And I saw kind of what else was out there and became more cultured and whatever. But I'm definitely, I guess, what you would call a passport bro, unfortunately.
As long as you're happy.
It's just, I find that most guys realize that it's to be competitive in the US, you just have to be that much more competitive. And that's okay. Right. And that's good. But either way, to be competitive abroad, there's a whole other, you have to learn the local culture more. You have to understand dating at a deeper level, and you have to know what works there as well. So if you don't have success here and you want to have success over there, it's still not going to like immediately just fall into your lap. You still need to, you know, understand how attraction works and what women want and what they don't, and be able to approach and do all those things. So,
So it's hard to tell whose fault is that. That is just this imbalance in US. You know, there is probably a struggle, you can tell, with something is not working recently and it's getting worse.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's some countries where it's just like the divorce rate is dwindling hardcore. I mean, that's kind of worldwide, but like Japan, for example, almost nobody's
divorce rate in Ukraine is pretty high, but I'm just gonna say it's very easy for us to divorce. We don't have to go through a painful process that will take you a year. You know, okay, well, I'm not happy, bye.
Yeah.
And since you have a kids, okay, stay in the house, I'll get an apartment. So it's just a little bit easier because again, the economy, the prices are different. It's never, you know, a joy and happiness to get divorced, but it's just easier. It's not that much of drama.
Interesting.
You know?
Do you see yourself like when you have, well, do you want a family and kids? I'm guessing yes.
Yes.
Do you see yourself living here? Would you prefer to live in Ukraine if it's, you know, safe and the war's over? Where do you want to be?
That would be once you start traveling, it's very hard to, you know, it's like when you moved out from your parents' house and then you come back and you're like, oh my God, you go back to your room and you think, this is too small for me.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels the same. I do not see myself in Ukraine just living my life. Visiting, yes, but I don't really have family there anymore also. So I think I will stick to US at this point because I'm just tired jumping around.
Yeah.
But I would want to build my life between Europe and US.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to be only here.
Okay. That's all.
But I always been like this. I'm a little, you know, I'm a gypsy. Type of. I like jumping around.
Yeah, if I had my way, I'd spend like maybe summers in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then
Something
the rest
like
of the time here.
Something like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm out of questions, but this has been so fun to pick your brain, and thank you for being so candid about your experiences and always helping out at the events.
You know too much now.
So if guys, you know, see this and they want to ask you questions or get in touch, can we share your Instagram and they can try to slide into the DM?
Okay. Slide into my DMs. Fine. Yeah, but like no WAD.
Okay.
First. No WYA. Weird. You know, put a sentence together and, you know, smoothly slide.
See, the standards are not that, you know, critical. It's just put a sentence together.
Yeah. Like a nice sentence or just something interesting. Even meme would work better.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been fun. All right. See you guys.
Ciao.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're a regular listener and you're digging our content, do me a favor, leave us a 5-star review. It's how other people learn about the show and how we can spread the word. If you don't feel like it's worthy of 5 stars, just go ahead, don't leave any review at all. And I want to let you know that we've opened up a few slots in our exclusive community. We're accepting applications to join our select group of men and experience the radical power of accountability, step up your game, cross everything off your sexual bucket list, and become a beast at accomplishing all of your goals. To learn more and apply, go to innerconfidence.com/community.